Leaders in the automotive sector say there's an urgent need to address the skills gap in the industry. They've held a roundtable discussion on how best to transform the sector. And to tell us more about it, I'm joined now by Renai Moothilal, the Executive Director of the National Association of Automotive Component and Allied Manufacturers. Thank you so much, Renai, for your time. I mean, I think when it comes to the roundtable discussion that was that had taken place, what came out in terms of the skills gap within the industry that you've identified?
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me. Skills are definitely one of the key issues that need to be addressed as the country transitions into new areas of both the electric vehicle usage as consumers, but more importantly, transferring into the production environment. There are a range of supporting measures already being implemented, being developed. At least from the constituency I represent, component manufacturers, we've been involved with a global partnership with the IYF and several funders to assist TVETs particularly, which is where component manufacturers draw their own pool of incoming skills. TVET curriculums being reshaped in line with global standards, aligned to new energy vehicle production. Of course, many of the OEMs themselves already have started with their own programs to assist in terms of when NEVs are in the market or already in the market, how are those serviced and kind of the aftermarket side of it. So I do think there's a lot of work to be done, but ultimately as the South African market and its export markets transition, those skills will be addressed.
Absolutely. With that being said, Renai, what do you think it would take to place both the Gauteng province as well as the city of Tshwane, just in terms of them being at the forefront of advanced vehicle and vehicle component manufacturing? Yes, there's a skills deficit that needs to be addressed, but what else do you think it would take to get the province and the city there?
So I think we must first recognize that South Africa's already got a very strong base of autos production. I mean, the really exciting news the other evening, BMW plant Rosslyn not only turning 50 years old, but about to get into new generation production for plug-in hybrids linked to a 4.5 billion new investment. So Gauteng already well placed with the number of OEMs and a very strong supplier base. I do think the kind of government-supported locations, if you think about the supplier park in Rosslyn, if you think about Tasses, which is a new automotive special economic zone, a whole range of complementary supporting mechanisms to assist in terms of getting the region particularly linked up in terms of NEV production. There's also the opportunity for materials beneficiation. Gauteng has always been, I suppose, the administrative hub of South African mining industry, so those relationships can be linked up. Minerals going to be a key part of NEV production. So yeah, I think already well-based. The interesting thing, Gauteng has always been, if you think about it, really strong in terms of IT, research and development, the education sector. So for me, Gauteng very well placed to play a central role in South Africa's transition in the NEV space.
But also furthermore, Renai, how significant is it to also move towards cleaner fuel technologies and that being a priority in the automotive industry?
Yeah, really important. And I think it's been a really important topic in the auto sector in South Africa for a long time, purely on the fact that, yes, the markets are transitioning to a new electric vehicle space, but there's still a role to be played for internal combustion engines, ICE. I don't think we're going to see an immediate or linear transition across the world into NEVs. The importance of having a cleaner fuels engine production outlook as well, so that even the other markets that are still consuming ICE products, the South African production base is already producing products linked to some of those higher emissions from a traditional fuel perspective. The South African market needs to consume internal combustion products that are aligned to what the global production space is doing as well. So I do think the shift to cleaner fuels is part of a transition into newer generation technology.
Yeah. When I look at the list of some of the key players that were in attendance at the round table, but also seeing how it's almost a multi-stakeholder relation, strategy here that would take the province, that would take the city towards moving in advancement of the automotive sector. I can't help but see the importance and significance of that public-private sector partnership, right, and approach, as well as, in driving investments within the region. Did that come out during discussions?
I think it came out very strongly, and if you think about who the participants were in that space, it was definitely a very strong public-private emphasis. There's been a lot of talk about a national policy requirement around NEV transition, and we've known about the publication of the green paper on NEVs by the DTIC a couple of years back. Rather than focused on a single big policy kind of change, I do think the space is there for smaller, more micro-level partnerships, regional and provincial governments taking a lead and themselves what they can package for private sector participation. The private sector already coming to the fore. I don't know if many people know this, but in terms of NEV production, component manufacturers are already playing in that space, exporting significantly into global NEV electric vehicle platforms. In fact, I know of a company right here in Gauteng that is supplying one of the highest volume pickup lines in the US, including the electric vehicle range. So it's happening already, and I think there's the scope or the space for us to kind of really ramp up as a country in that transition.
And it's encouraging to see that the groundwork has already been done and moves to further advance it clearly underway. Thank you so much, Renai, for joining us, the Executive Director of the National Association of Automotive Component and Allied Manufacturers. Thank you so much for your time this morning.